I was thinking about some stuff that happened to me when I was younger, much younger, when I was in bands, and I was playing and living in the Midwest at that time. And there's a few places I remember playing, and back then I wasn't playing guitar much, just rhythm, electric guitar, and I did some acoustic guitar. And I remember I had a Martin D28, and this is how different it was back then. This is 1971. Yeah, I know it dates me. Can't hide it anyway. But I went into a bank because I wanted a D28 guitar, Martin, and they were $600 brand new. Yeah, laughable. So I went into a bank and he said, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "Well, I'm in a band." "How much money do you make?" I told him. He said, "Okay, I'll give you a loan." Yeah, that's how different it is now. And anyway, so I got a loan, and a year later I had it paid off, and I wanted a Martin D20 or D35. And so I went and did the same thing. A year later I had that paid off. And that's how different it was. And I used those guitars sometimes when I was playing for rhythm and for some fingerstyle. I wasn't doing much back then. But I also had keyboards, and the one I had was a Hammond G, which was a huge organ, but it was from the USO tour. It was 1947 Hammond organ that I got from a friend of mine, and I had a 925 Leslie, for you guys that know that, and then a real Acrosonic Baldwin piano. And I mean, that's what we toured with. Now, I had a Wurlitzer 200 piano, but no, I wanted to be a purist at 17, so I hauled these things around. The band and I hauled them around without a Tommy lift on our buses. We'd literally lift them out of the bus, of the back, and take these into gigs. And I remember last time I did that, we'd done I don't know how many gigs with this heavy stuff. And we went to this one gig, and we took our stuff in, and I said, "Well, where's the stage?" And he goes like, "On the second floor with no elevator." So we had to haul that stuff up. I don't know how we did it, young and dumb, up a flight of stairs, because the stage was actually on the second floor, and it would overlook the dance floor. So anyway, to me, that is a funny memory, but a dumb memory. And some of the places we played, I remember the name of one place was the Whales Inn, and you go in there, and I think they had paintings of whales and all this dolphins and stuff, and you start playing, and it was just like a scene out of Blues Brothers. Start flicking cigarettes. Some guy threw an ashtray, and he got done with the set, and I said, "What's going on? Why do they do that stuff? They hate us that much?" "No, they like you." I remember he said, "If they hated you, you'd really know it." So there are times there'd be fights in different bars, and you know, we'd have to get in front of the equipment, kind of join elbow to elbow to keep people from jumping on the stage and ruining the guitars or the keyboards or drum set or whatever. And it didn't happen at that place, but it happened at a couple others. And I remember there was a place called The Last Step we used to play at. I don't remember where it was. And you play at this place, and it was cement floors. You have to go down stairs. It was the last step down in a basement, and it had cement floors. No matter how soft you played, that would just echo. You'd be like playing in a garage. Truly, we were a garage band when we played there, for sure. And it's just some of the funny memories. And I remember once we played at Elk's. A lot of times we'd play at places for, you know, like New Year's Eve, and I didn't like doing that because I like to have the day off for New Year's Eve, but we did anyway because it was good money. And a lot of times in the places like the Elks clubs, I think it was Elks or something like that, there were no hours because it was private clubs. They could go as long as they want. So people would be there and they'd lay $100 bills down, keep playing, and back then, you know, $100 or $200 to keep you going for half an hour, and then another 100 or 2 to keep going. That was a lot of money. So we did it, and there were times I remember one time we broke down the bus. Oh, no, we needed gas, that's it. We didn't have enough gas. And we had really long hair back then. And so the 2 guys, we decided which 2 guys were gonna walk to get gas to a farm. And they walked, but they had, remember, they were afraid because of their hair so long, no one would help them. Or you'd get hurt or something like that, so they got hats and put their hair under the hats. That was pretty funny. We played at the Sturgis rallies, or the bike rallies, Days of 76, whatever you want to call it. It's changed. And back then, it was rough. They were, I mean, it was fun, but it was rough. I mean, there were like Hell's Angels that were real Hell's Angels in the 72, and they still are, don't get me wrong, but they weren't probably as, some of them as nice as they are now. I mean, and most of the riders weren't doctors and lawyers that bring their trailers and, you know, with their bikes on them, which is the way I'd do it too. I wouldn't ride 2,000 miles on a bike, and especially in South Dakota because of the deer. If you've never been to one, you should just go. It was just hilarious, fun. There's a lot of just camaraderie at those things. It was pretty, and I don't have a bike, so but it was just fun watching, fun being there, and fun playing there. My God, there was so much going on. One of the places we'd play, and I didn't get this, I was only 17 or 18, whatever I was, and we'd play sometimes North Dakota and Minnesota, and there were these places you'd play in these huge halls. They're as bigger than a gymnasium. They were just long with rafters and wood floors, and I remember the first time I played at one of these places, these are all 20 miles out in the country. And I couldn't figure out why are they so far out in the country. And then no one was there. We sat up on this huge stage. This place was just gigantic. And I thought, who's gonna come? We're 20 miles out in the country. And soon, about 9 o'clock, I remember we were supposed to start playing, and you could see these lights. It was like Field of Dreams, if you've ever seen that movie. There was just lights coming from every direction. And after the gig, I asked the owner, what's the deal with this? How come you're out in the country? He said, where you been living, son? He says, this is from like the Prohibition. People had to build bars out in the county because you couldn't do it in the towns. And blue light laws, stuff like that. And plus he said, there's no dancing in town. And I thought that was so funny. And later on, of course, that movie Footloose came out much later, and you kind of went through that in the movie. It was pretty funny, and it reminded me of that time. And anyway, these big places that they built all over North Dakota, Wyoming, really, I think they had them for sure. Minneapolis or Minnesota. Big bands would play there. That's what they were for. Like Duke Ellington, Lawrence Welk, Harry James, all those guys. All those big bands. It was like a big circuit. And that's how they played. And they had to play in these clubs because it was against the law. And later on, I played somewhere in North Dakota with this band. And you know, we started playing in this club, and all of a sudden the tables move away. And I thought, what are they doing? Well, they were making room to dance. And it was a nice sized place anyway, but people were just dance nuts in this town. I remember that. And these places, well, this place, we started playing, and all of a sudden people were scrambling, and maybe 20 minutes into playing, and they were moving the tables and chairs back, and there was someone at the door giving hand signals, and next thing I know, cops are coming in, walking through the place, just kind of staring at everybody. And they did that like 3 times during the night. They'd come back, and then I asked them during the break, why? What's going on? They just checking that there's no one underage. No, it's against city ordinance to dance. And this was still like 1972 or 73, something like that. And it was still against the law to dance in town. That was just blew me away. I thought, where am I? You know, I hadn't experienced that before, even where I was from. So, funny memory how things have changed. And I think those clubs probably are still there, these huge places where they have bands. Not for the same reasons, but they exist, so they still use them. I remember there's this place I played in Wyoming, outside of Laramie, up in the mountains, called Elk Mountain. And they were having as a soloist, I was playing there. This is quite a few years ago, and they wanted a guitarist. So I go there, and this place is just beautiful, and it used to be an old hotel. And outside of the hotel was this dance floor just like the ones in South Dakota, only there was a pavilion. It wasn't as big, but they had redone this dance floor, remodeled this hotel. It looked like almost the same carpet, everything, and they didn't have any TVs in this hotel. They wanted it to remain like it was in the 30s and 40s. It was just beautiful. I'm sure it's still there, you know, because it was only maybe 15 years ago this happened, tops 20, 15 maybe. And it was just a beautiful place, but that was just funny. So I played for this grand opening. It was just gorgeous place. So if you ever want to take a little vacation, you're in Wyoming, go there. It's Elk Mountain. It's outside of Laramie. Was just a cool place. So anyway, some memories. Thought it was kind of funny. So I have a little book that I make lists of things maybe to talk about. As I have some more memories come to me, I'll probably make another little thing like this. Oh, by the way, if you want to subscribe, it'd really help me out. I'd really appreciate anybody that listens to me, and subscribe. Should be down there somewhere. Appreciate it. Love you guys. See you